Excuse me. I've been doing some thinking. Just kind of looking at our situation here, and I've come to the conclusion that we're completely fucked. Has anybody else made this discovery?
It's the end of the world as we know it. I feel fine.
Good morning, slaves, and welcome to another edition of It's the End of the World as we know it and I Feel Fine. The show where we tell you the truth by any means necessary. I am your host, the Stimulator, and for the second time this year, oil prices hit $100 a barrel. I asked the leading presidential candidates to comment about our current energy crisis, and here's what they had to say. It's not surprising that peak oil and global warming have been almost non-existing in the campaign platforms of all the major douchebags running for top American pimp. Yes, I said pimp. And the Clintons are pimping Chelsea up. So there. In any event, motherfucking economists were quick to blame the spike in oil prices to an explosion at a Texas refinery that forced its closure. While this may hold some truth, economists fail to mention that there is very little wiggle room between supply and demand of oil, and that a small incident such as the closure of a refinery or political strife in a tiny oil-producing African nation can send the price of oil soaring, which is why the US will never invade Iran. So there. But if you still need proof of the desperate need for oil in our economies, look no further than
the motherfucking tar sands.
If you don't know about
the motherfucking tar sands,
here's a short explanation. The motherfucking tar sands are tracts of land encrusted with extra heavy oil. The largest deposits exist in Canada and Venezuela, and smaller deposits in the US and Russia. In order to extract the oil from these sands, the land is strip mined, large amounts of water are converted into steam using a shitload of natural gas in order to separate the sand and clay from the extra heavy crude. The cost of extracting 1 barrel of oil from the motherfucking tar sands is about $28, which is roughly what we were paying back in 2001. But at current oil prices, well, you do the math. Canada's tar sands in Alberta crank out about 1 million barrels a day of this expensive oil, and it is estimated that Canada has more oil in Alberta than Saudi Arabia. This has created a gold rush mentality with greedy sons of bitches flooding the area in search for fortune. But like everything that's too good to be true, the motherfucking tar sands are too good to be true. Last week, the group Environmental Defense released a report that stated,
Alberta's oil sands are the most destructive project on Earth, causing environmental damage well beyond provincial borders.
Here's Matt Price from the group Environmental Defense.
Well, the tar sands has several impacts. One is the land base. They're talking about sort of either digging up or largely destroying an area the size of Florida. There's also significant carbon emissions. There's huge growth in greenhouse gas emissions is taking place in the tar sand. It's the single fastest growing source of emissions in the country. And there's also toxics issues. We're creating the largest toxic lakes in the world that you can now see from space with the naked eye.
Maybe folks in Alberta should take a cue from folks in British Columbia, who have been actively resisting the destruction of a pristine forest in Vancouver Island. Even after 70 Royal Mounted Yaxmen arrested forest offenders, activists returned and used their bodies to stop the destruction. Here is Earth First activist Zoe Blunt commenting on her group's new resistance tactics.
I think we've changed the rules of the game here, and the new rules are if they want to do this kind of aggressive, horrible development, they're going to have to call in a small army to do it. They're going to have to do their logging with hundreds of police officers and have the whole place under guard, because otherwise we're going to stop them.
And speaking of small armies, a spontaneous rebellion ensued during a Dead Prez concert in Olympia, Washington. According to reports, an arrest was made during the show, and someone from the stage exhorted the crowd to handle the situation. A mob of about 200 surrounded the cop, liberated the arrested man, and played piñata with the pigmobile.
Anti-narco, anti-vice, 911 wants the anti-Christ, they anti-social for I'm M16, cause I'm anti the anti-nigga machine. Proletarian, funkadelic, parliamentarian, pro-revolt in the 21st century. Pro running up in Congress saying fuck it all. But bring the people with you, that's the protocol. It's pretty dreadful like jailbreaks. The whole world is anti-United Snakes. So check it out, anticipate the antivenom, and move your antibody to this revolution rhythm. We gon' be fucking with them, pro-union, but most laws they bite. Anti-motherfuckers crossing the strike. Take a look around and be for or against, but you can't do shit if you riding the fence. Ride the fence. Now you don't really wanna ride the fence. Now do you really wanna ride the fence? Or would you really wanna ride the fence? Don't ride the fence.
Since 1993, the Coup has been dropping some of the bestest hip-hop in the world. Rap critics always put their records on the best of the year list, but hardly anybody out there knows about the motherfucking Coup. With song titles such as 5 Million Ways to Kill a CEO and Me and Jesus the Pimp in a 79 Granada last night, you can imagine just why I love them so fucking much. Well, this week I have the honor to bring you Boots Riley of the Coup. Hey Boots, how the fuck are you?
Doing good.
One of my favorite songs by the Coup is Ride the Fence. Can you tell us what you mean by riding the fence?
A lot of times people feel like they don't have to choose a side or take a stance on a thing. One of my more favorite versions of a riding the fence statement is by Steve Earle. He always says, "I don't got a dog in that fight." But you know, the reality is that we can't ride the fence. We're on one side or the other, and you know, and so the song is about taking a stand.
For anyone who listens to the lyrics, it's pretty easy to see where you stand on the elections. But for those who don't know the song, why don't you give us your take on U.S. electoral politics?
First of all, as far as for the general population, I'm for people stepping up their involvement with their world in any way they can. Do I think that electoral politics in and of themselves will bring about a progressive change? No, I don't. But if there is a grassroots movement that is able to stop the wheels of industry enough to negotiate changes, then that can happen. And you can make, if you have a movement like that, as there have been at different times in the past, you can make any politician do whatever you want them to do. On the other hand, you could have someone who is dedicated at first to revolutionary politics, you know, become an elected official and not have any power to do anything, even if it is in their heart to do that, because, you know, what we're electing are essentially puppets. I'm not saying, therefore, I'm not saying, therefore, to ignore the election of those puppets. Maybe tactically one puppet can be forced to do something more than the other puppet can. But to simply vote without also investing time and energy into being involved in grassroots movements that will actually bring about the change. If you only invest your time and energy into electoral politics, then you're looking to not get the result that you wanted, which is progressive change.
Not to bring up some old shit, but what was the deal with the party music record?
We wanted to make an album cover that had the symbolism that showed that our music fought against capitalism. And so we designed a cover with me holding a bass tuner and Pam conducting the music with her conductor's wands and me pressing on the bass tuner that made one of the biggest symbols of capitalism explode. And that was the World Trade Center in back of us, and we made that in May 2001. And we all know what happened in September.
And that about does it for this edition of It's the End of the World as we know it and I Feel Fine. For links to Malcolm X speeches or to comment on this show, visit our website, stimulator.tv. Power to the people.
Remember, kids, you can podcast high-quality video of this show at submedia.tv.